Let's get it done with daily interaction number 31. Hey, what's up everyone? John with WebDev for you, and welcome to the Daily Interaction series, where every weekday we build a new interaction or animation in Webflow. Today we're going to go over daily interaction number 31, and we're going to create a 180-degree flip effect on hover. So here I have the example. You might notice that the demo page is a bit different as well. I thought it's a bit cleaner with some more white space and a few elements in a few different places. But yeah, I'll showcase the daily interaction. So here when I hover over these cards, they flip 180 degrees on the y-axis. All right, so this is what we will be building today. So we have the Sydney Opera House, and I've gotten some information from Wikipedia. We have the Eiffel Tower and the Space Needle. All right, so yeah, with the new demo page, you can click here to learn more about becoming a member. You can go to the WebDev for You social media. You can go to webdevforyou.com here in the lower left, and you can go to the different demos here at the bottom. All right, looks good. So first we're gonna build out all the elements for this effect, and then we're gonna add the interaction to the elements. So to view more daily interactions and premium content, visit webdevforyou.com. Also be sure to subscribe below to receive a notification every time there is a new daily interaction. Okay, so here I have a blank Webflow project, and I'll go ahead and just hide the top toolbar here so we have more real estate. So we have a blank Webflow project, and we'll start with the daily interaction class naming convention. So it's the daily interaction number, so today is 31, and then the element. So every element on this site will have a D-31 in front of it, and this is for consistency purposes, and so that we know we're working with daily interaction number 31. All right, so the first thing I'll do here is add a section. So I'll add an element, I'll add a section, and I'll give it the class name D-31 section. I'll set the height to 100 VH, so it spans the full height of the viewport, and it will be the full width as well. I could also set it to auto if I wanted some more scroll space. And then for the display setting, I'll set it to flex, set it to horizontal, justify center, and align center. So anything I place within the section will be in the center. So the next thing I'll do is add the card. So we're going to build out the card. So to do that, I'm going to add an element. I'm going to add a div block, and I'll give this div block the class name D-31 card wrapper. So first we're going to create a wrapper because we need to create a 3D space for the card to flip in. And the way we do this in Webflow is to go down to children perspective. So if I hover over this question mark here, it says activate this on a parent element to enable 3D transforms for all of its children. So this is going to be kind of the 3D space we create for the 3D flip effect. So here for the perspective, I'm going to set it to about 1,000. I find 1,000 works well, and because the width of the card isn't going to be over 1,000 pixels, 1,000 is plenty of space, perspective space, to have the card flip. Okay, so this will be a bit more clear as we go along. You can go to a max of like 2,000, or I think even more, yeah. But 1,000 I find works well for this example. All right, so we have the card wrapper, and that's all we need to do for the first element. Now we want to add the card inside of this wrapper. So picture this wrapper as, the 3D space. So let's add the card. So I'll add an element, I'll add a div block, and I'll give it the class name D-31 card. Okay, so this is the card, and I'm going to give it a specific width and height. So for this, I'm going to say 300 pixels in width and 400 pixels in height. All right, so there we have the card. This is also kind of like a wrapper because we're going to have the front of the card and the back of the card inside of this card. So it is kind of a wrapper as well. And for this, I'm going to set it to relative, because the front of the card is going to be positioned absolute and full, and so is the back of the card. So by setting it to relative, anything inside of it will be relative to it and not relative to some other parent element. Okay, so that's all I needed to do there. So now let's add the front of the card and the back of the card. So yeah, with the card selected here, I'll add an element. I'll add another div block, and I'll call this D-31 card front. So this is going to be the front. And for this, I'll set it to a position of absolute and full. So it fills, it fills the entire card. And then for the background, I'm going to set it to a background color of this kind of purple color. And I'm also going to add a border radius. So here for the border, for the radius, I'm going to say something like 10 pixels. Yeah, 10 pixels looks good. So it has a little bit of a corner to it. Okay, so there we have the card front. I'm also going to set a display setting of flex, justify center, and align center, so we can place an image in the center here. So here I'll select the card front, I'll add an element, and I'll select image, and I'll choose an image. And for this, we'll do the Sydney Opera House. Okay, so there we have the image. I could add some alternative text for accessibility options. So I could say, yeah, Sydney icon of Sydney Opera House. Okay, and here I'll just change the width a bit, or add some left and right margin, or maybe padding. Yeah, we'll do some padding. Let me take the margin off because we don't need it. So here on the right, I'm just holding down Alt and adding some padding to the left and the right to make it a bit smaller. Maybe something like 50. Okay, so there we have the icon in the center, and that is the front of the card. So now we want to add the back of the card. So I'll go into the navigator. Oh, and the other thing I want to do here, because we are flipping these cards, we don't want to see the back side of the card. We just want to see the front. So we want to see the front of the card, and when it flips, we want to see the front of the back of the card. So for the card front, I'm going to go down to transforms. I'm going to click on this gear icon. And for back face, we're going to set the visibility to none. So we don't see the back side of the card, right? We only want to see the front. So when it flips, we don't have like the back and the front they're not conflicting with each other. We just see the front of each card. Okay. And again, this will make a bit more sense in a second. So there we have the front of the card. Now let's add the back of the card. So let me go in the navigator. Let's take a quick look at the structure, and let me give a class name to this image. So I'll say D-31 card image. And let's go, so we have the card wrapper. That's the 3D space we created because we added a children perspective to it. So the card is a child, so we can apply 3D effects to it. And then inside of the card, we're going to have the front, and in the front we have the image. So now within the card, we want to add the back side. So yeah, with the card selected, here we have the card selected. I'll add an element. I'll add a div block, and I'll call this D-31 card back. Okay, and for this, we'll also set it to a position of absolute and full. And then for the background, I'll set it to black. And I'll also give it a border radius of 10 pixels. All right, so there we have the back of the card. I'm also going to give it a display setting of flex, set it to vertical, justify center, and align center. So I'm going to add a heading and some text. So I want it to be vertically aligned so that the text, or the heading and the text, are below each other. So here I'll add an element. I'll add a heading, and we'll make it an H3. Could be H3 or H4 because it's not like a main heading. It's kind of more like a subheading. And then so I'll just name it D-31 H3, and I'll style it a bit. So let's go to typography. I'll set it to circular bold, set it to bold here for the font weight. Set the color to white, and I'll call this Sydney Opera House. Okay, and then with the card selected, I'll add an element, the card back. I'll add a paragraph, and I'll style this paragraph, let's say circular book, and the color of white. And let's add some margin to the left and the right, something like 30. And we'll make the text, we'll center the text. All right, so now let me go to Wikipedia. So I'll just go to, Wikipedia, or I can do like Sydney Opera House. And yeah, we have it right here. So I'll just copy it here from Google. It says the Sydney Opera House is a multi-venue performing arts centre in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. It is one of the 20th century's most famous and distinctive buildings. So again, this is just for demonstration purposes. We could use pretty much anything. So yeah, Sydney Opera House, and then that's the content. So I'll double click in here and paste. And there we have the content, and I'll just put a dash Wikipedia so we know it's from Wikipedia. Okay, so there we have the card, the back of the card. Now for the back of the card, we want to flip it 180 degrees. So it's so it's behind the front of the card, so that when it flips, we're going to have both the front and the back flip 180 degrees. So we want them to just rotate. So the back needs to initially start at 180 degrees. Okay, so to do that, we'll select the card back, and we'll go to transforms. We'll click the gear icon. Here in transforms, we'll click the plus to add a transform. We'll say rotate, and we're going to rotate it on the Y, so it flips vertically, like this. Okay, so on the Y, we're going to flip it 180 degrees, and we still see it, right? So we see the card, and it just flipped 180 degrees. We don't want to see the back side of the card. Let me see if I got this right. So yeah, again, we want to set the back face visibility to none. So here for the card back, we'll go to the gear icon, and here for back face, we'll set the visibility to not visible. Okay, so see what happened. So because the back face visibility is set to visible, we see the card, the back side of the card, and it's flipped, right? But I don't want to see the back side of the card. I just want to see the front. So when we rotate, we just see the front of the card. So here for back face, under transform settings, we'll say none, so we don't see the back side. So behind the front of this card, behind the front of the card is the back of the card. So you just kind of have to like visualize this in a way, like we're working with 3D ideas. So we have the front and then the back, and then we're going to flip them. Okay. All right. So hopefully that was all clear. So the next thing I'll do is let's go ahead into the interaction right away. So we can, we can just get into the interaction because we have all the elements. So we have the card wrapper, the 3D space, the card, and inside of the card is the front of the card and the back of the card. So when I hover over the card wrapper, I want the card to flip. Okay, so everything inside of the card will flip with it, which is the front and the back. So here with the card wrapper selected, I'll go into interactions. Here where it says element trigger, I'll click the plus, and on mouse hover, it's going to occur on hover. We're going to start an animation. And here for timed animations, we'll click the plus. And here I'll say D-31 mouse in. So when we mouse in, we want the card to flip 180 degrees. So here in the navigator, I'll select the card. So let me collapse it here. So we have the card. Inside of the card, we have the front and the back. So I just want to select the card here, go into interactions, add a new timed action, and I'll say rotate. And let me go into here, and so we have a bit more real estate. So we say rotate, and then on the Y, we're going to rotate it 180 degrees, okay? So it flips 180, and then we can add some easing to it. So I'll say we'll just say ease for this one. And that's it. So now if I preview, I hover, the card flips. Pretty simple. We just kind of worked with the transforms options. The back of the card, we rotated it 180 degrees. And then in the interaction, when we hover over the card wrapper, everything rotates. All right. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. We could do a bit of more formatting here with the text, but we'll just leave it like that for now. So we hover. We also need to add a hover out animation. So I'll close this, and on hover out, we're going to start an animation. I'll duplicate this mouse in and select it here. So we have mouse in 2, and here I'll just say D-31 mouse out, select the card, and rather than rotating it 180 degrees, we'll rotate it back to 0 degrees. So it goes back to its original rotation, or its original state. Okay, and you can work with the easing options to have an interesting easing as it flips. But there we go, we flip, it rotates, we hover out, it rotates back. That's it, and we have that nice 3D effect. Looks good. Okay, so just for demonstration purposes, let's go ahead and copy and paste the card wrapper 3 more times. So I'll hit Command C to copy, and then paste. Oops. Yeah, and then paste it. Yeah, hit Command C on the card wrapper and paste it 2 more times in the section. And excuse me, I'll hold down Alt and add some margin. Maybe let's say something like 15, and I'll just replace the image for each one. So this one I'll do Eiffel Tower, or no, this one, yeah, we'll do the Eiffel Tower, and for this one we'll do the Space Needle. Okay, and I can give them each alternative text: icon of the Eiffel Tower. Okay, and the Space Needle, we'll just say icon of the Space Needle. All right, yeah, and that's it. And because they already have the interaction applied, oh wait, no. So let me go in here. Yeah, so if we wanted the interaction to be applied to all of the cards, what we could do is go into the interaction, and go into the interaction. So here I'll select the interaction, go into the mouse hover, go into mouse in, and for the card, rather than the selected element, we're going to say a class. So action will affect multiple elements with this class. Say class, and rather than all, so if I preview, they'll all rotate at the same time. So rather than having all elements with the same class, we'll say only children with this class. So it'll just affect the individual child of each interaction trigger. So now, yeah, because if we go into the navigator, we're affecting the card, and the card is a child of the card wrapper, which is the interaction trigger. So it's only affecting the card inside of each interaction trigger. So now I'll preview, and they all rotate. Okay, and we also need to do that for the hover out state. So I'll select it, select class, only children with this class, and just to be safe, rather than just making one element a trigger, we'll select class. So any class with D-31 card wrapper is an interaction trigger. It already was before because we just copied and pasted. So they all have that green circle with the lightning bolt, letting us know it's an interaction trigger. So each of them is an interaction trigger. So when we hover over it, it'll affect the specific card inside of each interaction trigger. So just like that, we have the effect. I can go in and I'll select the card back and scroll down to transforms, and I'll just turn off the 180 degrees so we can edit it. Okay, so here I'll say Eiffel Tower and Space Needle. I'm not going to go and do the Wikipedia thing because you kind of saw how I did that. I just researched it. But yeah, so there we have the card back. I'll go ahead and apply the rotation. So by unchecking this eyeball symbol, it removes the rotation, which allows us to edit the card back here in Webflow. But when I turn it on, it rotates again and it goes behind the front of the card. All right, so there we go. That's how we create a 180 degree flip effect in Webflow. Pretty straightforward. Hopefully, yeah, all that was clear. It's a really cool effect. And yeah, it can make for a really interesting effect on your website. All right, looks good. If you have any questions about this tutorial, let me know in the comment section for this video, or in the forum section for the in the member section in the forum, and I'd be happy to discuss or go over anything I went over here. All right, looks good. So yeah, that is it for daily interaction number 31. Here with this new demo design, you can click here and kind of learn more about the membership and things like that. And you can go view other demos by clicking down here and the WebDev social media, or you can go directly to the website here on the left as well. All right, looks good. Oh yeah, and the other thing, I'll showcase this real quick. So on different devices, if you want to stack the cards differently for the section, I'll just go to tablet, say vertical. We have vertical, and rather than the height of auto VH, I'll set it to auto, and then I'll add some margin to the top and bottom of the card, something like that. And yeah, then I preview and they're stacked on top of each other. Okay, and you can go to the different devices and they'll stack on top of each other. All right, so that was just setting the section to not 100 VH. We set it to auto for the smaller devices, tablet and below. And then we just stacked it vertically instead of horizontally and added some margin to the top and the bottom. All right, looks good. Just wanted to cover that really quick. All right, so yeah, now it's really the end of the video. All right, yeah, so thanks for watching. To view more daily interactions and premium content, visit webdevforyou.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next daily interaction.